It was decided upon by Lucy together with the DBE in a very complex process that starts before the exam is even written. It's not an easy thing to explain or to understand even very often. It's very statistical. It's based on many factors, including evidence from provinces. It's based on past performance. And also we need to distinguish, it happens everywhere in the world for starters. And we need to distinguish also between the role of Lucy versus the role of the DBE. And Lucy, I believe, is doing, is acting with integrity and doing what they believe is in the interest of the learners and in accordance with their mandate. They do pick out issues that are problematic and point them out to the department in order to rectify them. So it's always a little bit controversial, but the intention is to ensure that no cohort of learners from one year to the next is prejudiced. So if you have a really difficult exam paper one year, then it's not fair for those learners who might have, if they'd written a year earlier, would have got a much better mark. So that is the intention of standardization. There's nothing cynical about the actual process as such. There are obviously questions that have been raised about how it's done, and Lucy has committed to answering those questions. But I think it really is a very difficult process, and maybe you should actually get Lucy to explain it. It would be quite interesting for the public to understand. They start with looking at the process, the standard of the papers, and then after that they go through the whole process again with many factors taken into account, including the difficulty of the papers and various other factors. So it's not an easy issue. I think you must be careful about saying progressed learners and upward mark adjustments, because you can't say just because they progress that they won't perform. Nearly 50% of our progressed learners did in fact perform. And I've also asked questions about how and why and what we do. They get a lot of extra attention, they get a lot of extra support, and they also, some of them I understand have a very big change in attitude. Some of them just don't apply themselves until that point. So I don't think we must assume that every single progressed learner is going to necessarily bring down the mark. We also can't tell whether the progressed learners affected the standardization, really, to what extent the standardization impacted on the progressed learners, because they do subject standardization as a whole. So it's not on individual learners, it's a whole subject. So it is possible, but always the proof obviously is when they get to university, can they cope? And it is a concern that for a number of years now, some universities have conducted their own tests, because they haven't felt confident that the Matric does adequately prepare learners for university, and that is an ongoing concern. University, the whole situation at university is a concern at the moment. I sincerely hope that we will not see the disruptions that we did last year. I think it's very, very bad for our system, very bad for our country. And yes, I mean, obviously as the years go by, I trust that they will not need to do those kind of tests. But I do think we have seen some improvement in the system generally, and when Minister Matric did look at the results of the TIMS and the SACMIC that have not been officially released, but they have indicated improvements. We are nowhere near where we should be, but at least it is going up, and to move a system as big as this up even 1% is quite difficult. So I think we do need a lot more to be done, and it's not right that people should leave school without being able to be adequately prepared for university if they achieve a bachelor's pass.